Today on Legendary Trails, we visit an off-the-beaten-path place that will take us back in time to the land of the ancients. If you are unfamiliar with Hovenweep area, you will need to have a physical map or a downloaded offline Google Maps. Cell phone coverage in this area is rather spotty at best, so you'll want to be prepared before you go on this adventure. So where is Hovenweep National Monument that you've never heard of? Hovenweep is located in the southeastern corner of Utah, almost on the Colorado border. However, some of the park does cross into Colorado. On the Colorado side, most of the area is called the Canyons of the Ancient National Monument, but the main ruins on the Colorado side are still considered part of Hovenweep. I won't lie, the road into this section of the monument is rather rough and will deter some people from visiting this area. Plus, the signage for finding the turnoff is not signed well and may require some backtracking. Here's a helpful hint. If you're coming from the southwest, the signs are pretty easy to see. However, if you're coming from the east or the Colorado side, if you hit the border, you've gone about 0.6 miles too far. Once you reach the turnoff, it quickly becomes a dirt road. And during wet, trust me, you don't want to be in here because it becomes a sloppy mess. We tried this once in a 2006 F-150 and it was very muddy. Overall, this is kind of your basic normal dirt road that you find in the western parts of the United States. If you're a very brave soul, you'll probably take your passenger car about halfway down this road. The dirt road is normally pretty passable by passenger car during dry weather as far as the Horseshoe Hackberry trailhead, but it is much rougher beyond this point as you get closer to the Holly group. You'll see here in a little bit that there are some washouts. We did see one passenger car parked before this point because the road had gotten a lot rougher over the years due to some recent flash flooding. If you're brave, you probably could make it without any issues, but we'll look at the current conditions because they do change quite frequently in this desert environment. Once you turn off toward the Holly group, it gets a lot rougher. You could still easily get any stock SUV in here without any issues. As you can see, there are some washouts. It is going to be a little bumpy for a passenger car, so I do recommend parking them up near Hackberry Trailhead instead and walking the little bit of distance. The parking lot here is pretty gravelly and rocky, and so you might want to be careful with where you park depending on your vehicle clearance.
If you get on a rock, then you won't burn.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you're going to have to step in the lava to get your sandwich.
I bet I know.
If you only have time for one of these hiking groups, we recommend Holly. It's our favorite in this section of the park. Holly has the most spectacular ruins, 2 large and 3 small buildings along the canyon rim and atop a large boulder. Plus, if you do the additional option, you'll also see some petroglyphs here as well. The walk to Holly isn't very far and clocks in at about 0.3 miles. The trailheads, similar to the others, are all reached by an unpaved path. Here's some fun facts about Hovenweep. Hovenweep National Monument is comprised of 6 distinguished acreages that protect groups of ancestral Pueblo ruins. Each group of ruins are near canyon rims where remarkable masonry skills were used to contour the structures to irregular shapes of boulders and recessed rock areas. Hovenweep is a Ute word that means deserted valley, which adeptly describes the surrounding area with the villages of ghostly ruins nearby. Most of these sites are estimated to be from around 1300 AD. As you approach the ruins, you'll wonder at first whether you're seeing some beautiful red sandstone spires similar to Bryce Canyon or something else. As you approach, the ruins with the reddish sandstone are obvious, but yet not. They blend well into the brushy, rocky, somewhat nondescript landscape, yet they are still easy enough to locate. You'll wonder as you get closer How in the world did they build such structures on a boulder in the middle of the canyon? And you'll be amazed at the architecture they achieved. If you look down as you approach these two buildings, you'll see one of my favorite buildings located inside of Hovenweep National Monument. There's this little side building here, and you wonder about what they stored there if they lived there. However, the building that is most special on this hike is the one that you can barely see the top of here. If you look as we approach, you'll wonder, wow, does that just keep going? Does the cliff keep going down in a nice stable angle? No, it doesn't. That building there is built on top of a boulder in the middle of the canyon. As you approach the main structure, there are several notices that warn against walking on the walls or otherwise disturbing these structures, most of which are loosely just fenced off. We spent some time at these ruins before we were going to continue up the trail. Please follow these signs so that we can keep these historic structures for future generations. We decided to continue the hike and go to see the petroglyphs that are found here in this area. Just up the ways from the ruins, you will find the petroglyphs and pictographs that have been in this vicinity. They're a little hard to spot, but the hike is definitely an easy one and will take you to a cliff edge where you can see the petroglyphs. The site appears to be a solar shine/calendar. Beneath the overhang, you can see 3 circular symbols. They're kind of hard to see, so we recommend having a good zoom lens. After we finished up with the Holly group, we quickly returned to the truck so we can continue to the other ruins in the area.
Here we are, everybody. Hackberry. Horseshoe, Hackberry, and Holly's 0.8 miles that way. We did Holly already.
We already did Holly.
Horseshoe's 0.3 mile, Hackberry's a half. Alright, shall we go?
Here we go.
If you have extra time or are spending the day in Hovenweep, before you head to the main visitor center or conclude your day, you need to visit Horseshoe and Hackberry. Hackberry consists of 1 major and 1 minor ruin, while Horseshoe has 2 sites. A nearly level 0.6 mile trail leads to Horseshoe and Hackberry, both set on the rim of shallow ravines. Now this trail is considered a moderate because it does have quite a bit of up and down on slick rock with some uneven footing. So if you are having ankle issues, this might be a trail that you want to plan extra time for. It is doable if you have foot issues, I believe, in my opinion, but you do want to be taking your time just to be safe. The trail is pretty well marked and easy to follow. If you missed getting a trail brochure at the visitor center, you may be able to pick one up if they're there. The day we went, none were available, but I had previously downloaded the guide to my phone before we left just in case. Before reaching the first ruin, the trail drops a little bit into a wash and then climbs back up the other side. The broken section of rock is probably only the real obstacle, like I mentioned earlier. This is a small one, but if you do have problems with foot, ankles, or have small children, they may need assistance in this section. However, you can see Everett did it with ease and didn't need our help at all. He's a great little trail leader. Once you get out of that section, you'll be on the top of the ravine, and in the distance, if you look off to the right there, you'll see part of the structures that you're hiking towards. Wow, what a view. Horseshoe Tower is the first ruin along the trail. The tower sits right on the rim of Horseshoe Canyon. The brochure mentions that the tower was once walled off from the canyon, giving it the appearance of it being a defensive structure. Towers may have served many purposes besides lookout, including astronomical viewpoints and for line-of-sight communication with other sites. What they're really used for, we'll really never know. They could have been granaries for all we know. To get to the ruin, you'll continue up the slick rock for a little while longer. There are many markers on the trail, so you won't get lost on slick rock since it's hard to tell where the trail might be without them. You just continue forward for a little ways, and if you're ever feeling lost, you can look in the distance seeing that tower that you're hiking towards. It's really not a hard hike. You just have to keep your bearings and make sure that if you have any little ones that they stay away from the canyon edge. After you pass through some trees and across the slick rock, you'll finally be at Horseshoe Tower. After admiring Horseshoe Tower, you'll quickly continue up the trail, which is filled with more slick rock and winding through the trees along the canyon edge. But quickly you will come to the next ruin on this trail, which is the Horseshoe House. As you quickly come to the Horseshoe House, you'll be in awe of all the architecture that they put into each building and how different they are from each other. The brochure draws your attention to the precisely sewn stones that were used to build the walls. It mentions that water for the mortar came from the seeps within the canyon. There are also oral histories that tell of preparing the stones with the mortar mixing and setting them aside while waiting for rainstorms so they could hurry up and collect with all the water that they could. Pots have been found intact that were capable of holding up to 30 gallons of water. Not too far away, you'll continue the hike if you wish to the Hackberry Ruins. The Hackberry Ruins are just a little bit over a small rise, and it'll be similar hiking to what you did before. They're apparently about 500 yards or just over a quarter mile away from the other site. Apparently, there is another dirt road that may lead to the Hackberry site that you'll be able to drive on. However, with being this close, it's probably just easier to walk than try to find a dirt road that you know nothing about. Most of the Hackberry Ruins are just piles of rubble with a few wall segments still standing. Hackberry Canyon is thought to have been one of the most densely populated canyons because it generally has more water coming from its seeps. To be honest, the Hackberry Ruins for us was more of a letdown because you start with seeing Horseshoe and Horseshoe House, and those are the most impressive ruins on this hike. These are pretty cool, especially the ones that are across the canyon. But if you are short on time, I would say that for this hike, you're not missing much if you don't have time to complete it or choose to skip it. No matter which site you visit in Hovenweep, it seems like the inhabitants were ready to defend themselves from anything. It's hard to imagine that life here was peaceful and blissful with the ancestral Pueblos and the other inhabitants when they have so many sites built with defensive walls or towers, and they're protecting their alcoves in these hidden areas they seem impossible to get to. We'll never really know what life was like here. However, we can always think about it and learn and examine what is left behind. Next time on Legendary Trails, we visit the main group that is found within Hovenweep National Monument, and we do the hardest hike in the park. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And if you're not caught up on all of our adventures, you should click on the suggested videos. We hope to see you out on the trail soon. Bye for now.